Did you hear what I was playing, Lane?
I didn't think it polite to listen, sir.
I'm sorry for that, for your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play inaccurately. But I play with wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. I keep science for life.
Yes, sir.
And speaking of the science of life, have you got the cucumber sandwiches cut for Lady Bracknell?
Yes, sir.
By the way, Lane, I see from your book that on Thursday night, when Lord Shorman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne are entered as having been consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint, sir.
Why is it that at a bachelor's establishment the servants invariably drink the champagne? I ask merely for information.
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I've often observed that in married households, the champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, is marriage so demoralizing as that?
I believe it is a pleasant state, sir. I have very little experience of it up until this moment. I have only been married once, and that was in consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I don't know that I'm much interested in your family life, Lane.
No, sir. It's not a very interesting subject. I never think of it myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. That will do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax, really at the lower orders, and set as a good example. What on earth is the use of them? They seem as a class to have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
How are you, my dear Ernest? What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else should bring one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algy.
I believe it is customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Now, where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
When one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses other people. It is excessively boring.
And who are the people you amuse?
Oh, neighbours, neighbours.
What nice neighbours in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never talked to one of them.
How immensely you must amuse them. By the way, Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Shropshire? Yes, of course it is. Hello, why all these cups? Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who is coming to tea?
Merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolen.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, that is all very well, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolen is perfectly disgraceful. Which is almost as bad as the way Gwendolen flirts with you.
I am in love with Gwendolen. I have come up to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you'd come up for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
I really don't see anything romantic about proposing. It is very romantic to be in love, but there is nothing romantic about a definite proposal. Why, one may be accepted, one usually is, I believe. Then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If ever I get married, I'll certainly try to forget the fact.
I have no doubt about that, dear Algy. The divorce courts were specially invented for people whose memories are so curiously constant.
There's no use speculating on that subject. Divorce is made in heaven. Please don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They're ordered specially for Aunt Augusta.
Well, you have been eating them all the time.
That is quite a different matter. She is my aunt. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolen. Gwendolen is devoted to bread and butter.
And very good bread and butter it is too.
Yes, well, my dear fellow, you need not eat as if you don't eat at all. You behave as if you were married to her already. You are not married to her already. And I don't think you ever will be.
Why on earth do you say that?
Well, in the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it's right.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Yes, it isn't. It is a great truth. And accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. And in the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear boy, Gwendolen is my first cousin, and before I allow you to marry her, you will have to clear up the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean? What do you mean, Algy, by Cecily? I don't know anyone of the name of Cecily.
Bring me that cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room the last time he dined here.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say you have had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you had let me know. I'd been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward.
Oh, well, I wish you would offer one. I happen to be more than usually hard up.
There's no good offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
Well, I think that's rather mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, it makes no matter, for now that I look at the inscription inside, I find that the thing isn't yours after all.
Of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times, and you've no right whatsoever to read a cigarette case. It is a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
It's absurd to have a hard and fast rule about what one should read and what one shouldn't. More than half of modern culture depends upon what one shouldn't read.
I am quite well aware of the fact, and I don't propose to discuss modern culture. It isn't the sort of thing one should talk of in private. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case is a present from someone of the name of Cecily, and you just said you don't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady she is too. Lives in Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, Algie.
Yes, but why does she call herself Little Cecily if she is your aunt who lives in Tunbridge Wells? From Little Cecily, with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not so tall. It's surely a matter that an aunt may be allowed to decide for herself. You seem to think that all aunts should be exactly like your aunt. That is absurd. For heaven's sake, just give me back my cigarette case.
Yes, but why does your aunt call you her uncle? From Little Cecily, with her fondest love, to her dear Uncle Jack. There is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt, but why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew her uncle, I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all. It is Ernest.
It isn't Ernest. It's Jack.
You have always told me it was Ernest. I have introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name was Ernest. Why, you are the most earnest-looking person I ever saw in my life. It's perfectly absurd you're saying your name isn't Ernest. It's on your cards. Here is one of them. Mr. Ernest Worthing, before the Albany. I shall keep this as a proof that your name is Ernest, should ever you attempt to deny it to me, or to Gwendolyn, or to anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country. And that cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not account for the fact that your small ancestor who lives at Tunbridge Wells called you her dear uncle. Come on, boy, you'd much better have the thing out at once.
My dear fellow, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist. It is very vulgar to talk like a dentist when one isn't a dentist. It produces a false impression.
Well, that is exactly what dentists always do. Now, come on, boy, tell me the whole thing. I may mention I've always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist, and I'm quite certain of it now.
A Bunbury's. What on earth do you mean by Bunbury's?
Now, I'll reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to inform me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now, produce your explanation, and pray, make it improbable.
My dear fellow, there is nothing improbable about my explanation at all. That is perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle from motives of respect that you could not possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country under the charge of her admirable governess, Miss Prism.
And where is that place in the country, by the way?
That is nothing to you, dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I may tell you candidly, the place is not in Shropshire.
No, I suspected that, my dear boy. I've Bunburyed all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now, go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear Algie, I don't know whether you will be able to understand my real motives. You are hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one has to adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. It is one's duty to do so. And as a high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce very much to either one's health or one's happiness. In order to get up to town, I've always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Ernest, who lives in the Albany and gets into the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear Algie, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life would be very tedious if it were either, and modern literature a complete impossibility.
That wouldn't at all be a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte, my dear fellow. You shouldn't try. You should leave that to the people who haven't been at a university. And they do it so well in the daily papers. Now, what you really are is a Bunburyist. I was quite right in saying you're a Bunburyist. You're one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean?
You have invented a very useful young brother called Ernest in order that you may be able to come up to town whenever you like. Now, I have invented an invaluable permanent invalid called Bunbury in order that I may go down into the country whenever I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. If it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinary bad health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine with you at Willis's tonight, for I've really been engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week.
I haven't asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
I know. You are absurdly careless about sending out invitations. It's very foolish of you. Nothing annoys people more than not receiving invitations.
You had much better dine with your Aunt Augusta.
I haven't the smallest intention of doing anything of the kind to begin with. I dine there on Monday, and once a week is quite enough to dine with one's own relations. In the second place, whenever I do dine there, I'm always treated as a member of the family and set down with either no woman at all or with two. In the third place, I know very well whom she will place me next to tonight. She will place me next to Mary Farquhar, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. That is not very pleasant. Indeed, it is not even decent. That sort of thing is enormously on the increase. The amount of women in London who flirt with their own husbands is perfectly scandalous. It looks so bad. It's simply washing one's clean linen in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a Bunburyist, I naturally want to talk to you about Bunburying. I want to tell you the rules.
I'm not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolyn accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily is proving to be a little too much interested in him. So I'm going to get rid of Ernest, and I strongly advise you to do the same with your invalid friend, who has the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And if ever you get married, which seems to be extremely problematic, you will be very glad to know Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of things.
That's nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolyn, and she's the only girl I ever saw in my life that I would marry, I certainly wouldn't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to realize in married life, 3 is company and 2 is none.
That, my dear young friend, is the theory that the corrupt French theatre has been propounding for the last 50 years.
Yes, and that the happy English home is proved in half the time.
Oh, for goodness sake, Algy, don't try and be cynical. It is perfectly easy to be cynical.
Oh, my dear boy, it isn't perfectly easy to be anything nowadays. There's such a lot of beastly competition about. Ah, that must be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives or creditors ever ring in that Wagnerian manner. Now, if I can get her out of the way for 10 minutes, so that you may have an opportunity of proposing to Gwendolyn, may I dine with you at Willis's tonight?
Oh, I suppose so, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people who are not serious about their meals. It's so shallow.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you are behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things really go together.
Dear me, you are smart.
I'm always smart. Am I not, Mr. One?
You are quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I am not that. It would leave no room for developments. And I intend to develop in many directions.
I'm sorry if we are a little late, Algernon, but I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harvey. I haven't been there since her poor husband's death. I never saw a woman so altered. She looks about 20 years younger. And now I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Won't you come and sit here, Gwendolyn?
Thank you, Mamma. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens, Lane. Why are there no cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers.
No, sir, not even for ready money.
That will do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I am greatly distressed, Aunt Augusta, about there being no cucumbers, not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Harvey, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
I hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief.
It certainly has changed its colour, from what cause I, of course, cannot say. Thank you. I've quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She is such a nice woman and so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to have.
I'm afraid, Aunt Augusta, I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all.
I hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that.
It is a great bore, and I need hardly say a terrible disappointment to me, but the fact is I've just had a telegram to say that my poor friend Bunbury is very ill again. They seem to think I should be with him.
It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Yes, poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, that I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. This shitty family, and nor do I in any way approve of the modern sympathy with illness. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in. Health is the primary duty of life. I'm always having had your poor uncle, which never seems to take much notice, as far as any improvement in his ailment. I should be obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury from me to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season, when everyone has said practically whatever it was they had to say, which in most cases was probably not.
I'll speak to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta, if he's still conscious, and I think I can promise you that he'll be all right by Saturday. Of course, the music is a great difficulty. You see, if one plays good music, people don't listen. And if one plays bad music, people don't talk. But I'll run through the program I've drawn up for you, Aunt Augusta, if you'll kindly step into the next room for a moment.
Thank you, Algernon. It is very thoughtful of you. I'm sure the program will be delightful after a few explanations. French songs I cannot possibly allow. People always seem to think that they are improper, and either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. But German sounds are thoroughly respectable level, and indeed I believe it is. When you learn, you will accompany me.
Yes, no.
Charming day it's been, Miss Fairfax.
Pray, don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Werner. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain that they mean something else. And that makes me so nervous.
I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I am never wrong.
And I would like to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into rooms that I've often had to speak to her about.
Miss Fairfax, ever since I met you, I have admired you more than any other girl I've ever met since I met you.
I know. And I wish that in public, at any rate, you had been more demonstrative. For me, you have always had an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Werner, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines and has reached the provincial populace, I'm told. And my ideal has always been to love someone of the name of Ernest.
You really love me, Gwendolyn?
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
My own Ernest.
But you don't mean to say you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Ernest.
But your name is Ernest.
Yes, I know it is. But supposing it was something else. Do you mean to say you couldn't love me then?
Yeah, that is clearly a metaphysical speculation. And like most metaphysical speculations, have very little reference at all to the actual facts of real life as we know them.
Well, really, to speak quite candidly, darling, I don't much care for the name of Ernest. I don't think the name suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It is a divine name. It has a music of its own. It produces vibrations.
Well, really, Gwendolyn, I think there are plenty of other much nicer names. I think Jack, for example, a charming name.
Jack. Yeah. There is very little music in the name Jack, if any at all. Does not thrill. Produces absolutely no vibration. I have known several Jacks, and they have all been more than usually plain. Besides, Jack is a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity anyone who is married to a man named John. She would no doubt never know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment of solitude.
Gwendolyn, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must get married at once. There's no time to be lost.
Married, Mr. Worthing?
Well, surely, you know that I love you. And you led me to believe, Miss Fairfax, you were not absolutely indifferent to me.
I adore you. But nothing has been said about marriage. You have not even proposed to me yet. The subject has not even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think it would be an admirable opportunity. And to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I think it only fair to tell you quite frankly beforehand that I am fully determined to accept you. Yes, Mr. Worthing, what have you got to say to me?
You know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolyn, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling. What an age you've been about it. I think you've had very little experience in how to propose.
My own one. I've never loved anyone in the world but you.
I know. But men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. Darling, what wonderfully dark eyes you have. I hope that you will always look at me just like that. Especially when there are other people present.
Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from this semi-recumbent posture.
Mamma, I must beg you to retire. This is no place for you. Besides, Mr. Worthing has not quite finished yet. I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Pardon me, you are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I or your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. An engagement should come on a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant as the case may be. It is hardly a matter that she could be allowed to arrange by herself. And now I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. While I am making these inquiries, you, Gwendolyn, will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mamma.
In the carriage, Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn, the carriage. You can take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that you are not down on my list of eligible young men, although I have the same list as the dear Duchess of Burton has. We work together, in fact. However, I am quite ready to enter your name, should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I smoke.
I am glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. I have always been of opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am pleased to hear. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic fruit. Touch it and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the young classes and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 pounds a year.
In land or in investments?
In investments, chiefly.
That is satisfactory. But between the duties expected of one during one's lifetime and the duties exacted from one after one's death, land has ceased to be either a profit or a pleasure. It gives one position and prevents one from keeping it up. That's all that can be said about that.
I have a country house with some land, of course, attached to it, about 1,500 acres, I believe. But I don't depend on that for my real income. In fact, as far as I can make out, the poachers are the only people who make anything out of it.
A country house? How many bedrooms? Well, that point we clear up after. You have a charnel house, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature like Wendy could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Well, I own a house in Belgrave Square, but it is let by the year to Lady Bloxham. Of course, I can get back at any time I like, with 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very little. She's a lady considerably advanced in years.
Ah, nowadays there is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number, Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side, I thought there was something. Still, that could easily be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the sign?
Both, if necessary, I presume. What are your politics?
I'm afraid I really have none. I am a liberal unionist.
Oh, they count as Tories. They dine with us. Or come in the evening, at any rate. And now to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
Both. To lose one parent, Mr. Welling, may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born in what the radical papers call the purple of commerce, or did he rise in the ranks of aristocracy?
I'm afraid I really don't know. The fact is, Lady Bracknell, I said I had lost my parents. It would be nearer the truth to say my parents seem to have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was found. Yes, the late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman of a very charitable and kindly disposition, found me and gave me the name of Worthing, because he happened to have a first-class ticket to Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It is a seaside resort.
And where did this charitable gentleman with the first-class ticket to this seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
And
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I was in a handbag, a perfectly ordinary black leather handbag with handles to it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
in what locality did this Mr. James or Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
In the cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given to him in mistake for his own.
Cloakroom at Victoria Station.
Yes, the Brighton line.
Line is immaterial. Mr. Worthing, I confess I feel somewhat bewildered by what you have just told me. To be born, or at any rate bred, in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, seems to me to display a contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life that reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that unfortunate movement led to. As for the particular locality in which the handbag was found, A cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion, but it could hardly be regarded as an assured basis for a recognized position in good society.
May I ask you then what you would advise me to do? I need hardly tell you I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would strongly advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make a definite effort to produce at any rate one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
Well, I don't see how I could possibly manage to do that. I can produce the handbag at any moment. It is in my dressing room at home. I really think that should satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that I and Lord Bracknell would dream of allowing our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel? Good day, Mr. Worthing.
Good day. Algy, stop playing that ghastly tune! How idiotic you are!
Didn't it go off all right, old boy? You don't mean to say Gwendolyn has refused you. I know, it's the way she has. She's always refusing people. I think it's most ill-natured of her.
And Gwendolyn is as right as a trivet. As far as she's concerned, we are engaged. Her mother is perfectly unbearable. I've never met such a gorgon. I don't really know what a gorgon is like, but I'm quite sure Lady Bracknell is one. At any rate, she's a monster without being a myth, which is rather unfair. I beg your pardon, Algy. I suppose I shouldn't go on in that way about your own aunt before you.
My dear boy, I love hearing my relations abused. It's the only thing that makes me put up with them in the first place. The relations are simply a tedious pack of people who haven't the remotest knowledge about how to live, nor the smallest instinct about when to die.
Oh, that's nonsense.
It isn't.
Well, I won't argue about the matter. You always want to argue about things.
Well, that is what things were originally made for.
Upon my word, if I thought that, I'd shoot myself. Algy, you don't suppose Gwendolyn will become like her mother in about 150 years, do you?
All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. No man does. That's his.
Is that clever?
It's perfectly phrased and quite as true as any observation in civilized life should be.
I'm sick to death of cleverness. Everybody has to be clever nowadays. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We have.
I should extremely like to meet them. What do they talk about?
The fools. How about the clever people, of course?
Oh, what fools.
By the way, have you told Gwendolyn the truth yet? About your being Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear fellow, the truth isn't quite the sort of thing one tells to a nice, sweet, refined girl. What extraordinary ideas you have about the way in which to behave to a woman.
No, if the only way to behave to a woman is to make love to her, if she is pretty, and to someone else if she is plain.
Oh, that's nonsense.
What about your brother? What about the profligate Ernest?
Oh. By the end of the week, I shall have got rid of him. I'll say he died in Paris of a severe apoplexy. Plenty of people die quite suddenly of apoplexy, don't they?
Yes, but it's hereditary, my dear fellow. It's the sort of thing that runs in families. You had much better say a severe chill.
You are quite sure a severe chill isn't hereditary or anything of that kind?
Of course it isn't.
Very well then. Poor brother Ernest is carried off suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. There, that gets rid of him.
But I thought you said that Miss Cardew was all too much interested in your poor brother Ernest. Won't she feel his loss a good deal?
Oh, that is all right. Cecily is not a silly romantic girl, I'm glad to say. She has a capital appetite, goes on long walks, and pays no attention at all to her lessons.
I should rather like to see Cecily.
I shall take good care you never do. She's excessively pretty and only just 18.
Have you told Gwendolyn yet that you have an excessively pretty ward who is only just 18?
My dear fellow, one just doesn't blurt these things out to people. Gwendolyn and Cecily are perfectly certain to become extremely great friends. I bet you anything you like that half an hour after they have met, they will be calling each other sister.
Women only do that if they've called each other a lot of other things first. Now, my dear fellow, if we're going to get a good table at Willis's, we really must go and dress. You know, it is nearly 7.
Oh, it is always nearly 7.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
What should we do after dinner? Shall we go to the theatre?
Oh no, I loathe listening.
Well, let us go down to the club.
Oh no, I hate talk.
Well, we might trot round to the Empire at 10.
No, can't bear looking at things, it's so silly.
Well, what shall we do?
Nothing.
It's awfully hard work doing nothing. However, I don't mind hard work so long as there is no definite object of any kind.
Miss Fairfax.
Really, Gwendolyn.
Algy, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Dear me, Gwendolyn, I don't think I can allow this at all.
Algy, you always adopt a strictly immoral attitude towards life. You are not quite old enough to do that.
Ernest, we may never be married. From the expression on Mamma's face, I fear we never shall. Few parents nowadays pay any regard to what their children have to say to them. The old-fashioned respect for the young is fast dying out. Whatever influence I had over Mamma, I lost at the age of 3. But although she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, I may marry someone else and marry often. Nothing she can say can alter my eternal devotion to you.
Dearest Gwendolyn.
The story of your romantic origins, as told to me by Mamma with unpleasing comments, has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination. The simplicity of your character makes you exquisitely incomprehensible to me. Your town address I have. What is your address in the country?
The Manor House.
The Manor House.
Woolton.
Woolton.
Hertfordshire.
Hertfordshire.
There is good postal service, I suppose. It may be necessary to do something desperate. That will require serious consideration. I will communicate with you again.
I own one.
How long do you remain in town?
Till Monday.
Good. Algy, you may turn round.
Thanks. I've turned round already.
And you may ring the bell.
You will let me see you to your carriage, dearest Gwendolyn.
Sir.
I will see Miss Fairfax out.
Yes, sir.
A glass of sherry, Lane?
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Lane, I'm going Bunbury. I shall probably not be back till Monday. You can put up my dress suit, my smoking jacket, and all the Bunbury clothes.
Yes, sir.
I hope tomorrow will be a fine day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
Lane, you're a perfect pessimist.
I do my best to give satisfaction, sir.
There's a sensible, intellectual, charming girl. The only girl I ever cared for in my life. What on earth are you so amused at?
Oh, I'm a little anxious about my poor friend Bunbury, that's all.
If you don't take care, your friend Bunbury will get you into a serious scrape someday.
Well, I love scrapes. They're the only things that are never serious.
That's nonsense, Algy. You never talk anything but nonsense.
Nobody ever does. The Manor House, Woolton, Hertfordshire.
Cecily, surely such a utilitarian occupation as watering the flowers is rather more to duty than yours, especially at the moment when intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pray open it at page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
But I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know it perfectly well and am quite plain after my German lesson.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. Indeed, he always lays stress on your German when he's leaving for town.
Dear Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes he is so serious that I think he cannot be quite well.
Your guardian enjoys the best of health. And his proud demeanour is especially to be commended in one so comparatively young as he is. I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
I suppose that is why he often looks a little bored when we three are together.
Cecily, I'm surprised at you. Mr. Worthing has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. You must remember his constant anxiety about that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Jack would allow that unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometime too. We might have a good influence over him, Miss Prism. I'm sure you certainly would. You know, German and geology and things of that kind influence a man very much.
I don't believe even I could produce any effect on a character that, according to his own brother's admission, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. Indeed, I'm not sure that I would desire to reclaim him. I'm not in favour of this modern mania for turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so let him reap. You must put away your diary, Cecily. I really don't see why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget all about them.
Memory, my dear Cecily, is a diary that we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles the things that have never happened and couldn't possibly have happened. I believe memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels that Bird has
Do not speak slightingly of 3-volume novels, Cecily. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. I hope you did not end happily. I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
The good ended happily, and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
I suppose so, but it seems so very helpful. And if you're not ever published,
Alas, no. The manuscript, unfortunately, was abandoned. I use the word in the sense of lost or mislaid. To your work, child, these speculations are profitless.
that I see dear Dr. Chesney coming up through the garden.
Dr. Chastel, this is indeed a pleasure.
And how are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well.
Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache. I think it would do her so much good to have a short stroll with you in the park, Dr. Chesney.
Sister, I have not mentioned anything about a headache.
No, dear Miss Prism, I knew that. But I felt instinctively that you had a headache. Indeed, I was thinking about that and not about my German lesson when the rector came in.
I hope, Cecily, you are not inattentive.
I'm afraid I am.
That is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was drawn from bees. Mr. Worthing, I suppose, has not returned from town yet?
We did not expect him until Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes, he usually likes to spend his Sunday in London. He's not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment. By all accounts, an unfortunate young man whose brother seems to be. But I must not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? My name is Letitia, Doctor.
A classical illusion, merely. Drawn from the pagan order. I shall see you both, no doubt, at evensong.
I think, dear Doctor, I will have a stroll with you. I find I have a headache after all, and I hope might do it good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as the schools and back.
That would be delightful. Cecily, you will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee, you may admit, is somewhat too sensational. Even these metallic problems have their melodramatic side.
Horrid political economy. Horrid geography. Horrid, horrid geography.
Mr. Ernest Worthing has just driven over from the station. He's brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, before you're in town. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss. He seemed very much disappointed. When he mentioned that you and Miss Prism were out here in the garden, but he said he'd like to speak privately with you for a moment.
Ask Mr. Ernest Worthing to come here. I suppose you'd better talk to the housekeeper about a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I've never met any really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid to look just like everyone else. He does.
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange mistake. I'm not little. In fact, I believe I'm more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. You, I see from your card, are Uncle Jack's brother. My cousin Ernest. My wicked cousin Ernest.
I'm not really wicked at all, cousin Cecily. You mustn't think that I'm wicked.
If you are not, then you have certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I have not been leading a double life, pretending to be wicked and really wicked all the time. That would be false.
Of course, I have been rather reckless.
I am glad to hear it.
In fact, now that you mention the subject, I have been very bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be so proud, though I'm sure it must have been very pleasant.
It is much pleasanter being here with you.
I can't understand how you were here at all. Uncle Jack won't be back till Monday afternoon.
That is a great disappointment. I am obliged to go up by the first train on Monday morning. I have a business appointment that I am anxious to miss.
Couldn't you visit anywhere but in London?
No, the appointment is in London.
Well, I know, of course, how important it is not to keep a business engagement if one wants to retain any sense of the beauty of life. Instead, I think we'd better wait until Uncle Jack arrives. And I know he wants to speak to you about your emigrating.
About my what?
You're emigrating. He has gone up to buy your outfit.
No, I certainly shouldn't let Jack buy my outfit. He has no taste in neckties at all.
I don't think you will require neckties. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
Well, we said at dinner on Wednesday night that you would have to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
Well, the accounts I received of Australia and the next world are not particularly encouraging. This world is good enough for me, Cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
I'm afraid I'm not that. And that is why I want you to reform me. You might make that your mission if you don't mind, Cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I've no time this afternoon.
Well, would you mind my reforming myself this afternoon?
It is rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You are looking a little worse.
That is because I am hungry.
How thoughtless of me. I should have remembered that when one is going to lead an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Thank you. Might I have a buttonhole first? I never have any appetite unless I have a buttonhole first.
And not a chandelier?
No, I'd sooner have a pink rose, Cousin Cecily.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose.
I don't think it can be right for you to talk to me like that. Miss Prism never says such things.
Then Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You are the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prism says that all good looks are a snare.
They are a snare that every sensible man should like to get caught in.
Oh, I don't think I would care to catch a sensible man. I shouldn't know what to talk to him about.
You are too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. A misanthrope I can understand. A woman's rope never.
Believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept as well as the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
That is obviously the reason why the primitive church has not lasted up to the present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear Doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But is a man not equally attractive when married?
No married man is ever attractive. except to his wife.
And often I'm told not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual sympathies of the woman. Maturity can always be depended on. Ripeness can be trusted. Young women are green. I spoke horticulturally. My metaphor is drawn from fruits. But where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing! This is indeed a surprise. We did not look for you till Monday afternoon.
I have returned from town sooner than I expected. Dr. Chasuble, I trust you are well.
Dear Mr. Worthing, I trust this garden of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother.
Yes, your brother, still leading his life of pleasure.
Dead.
Your brother Ernest dead.
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I trust you will profit by it.
I offer you my sincere condolences. You have at least the consolation of knowing that you are always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest, he had many faults, but it is a sad, sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him at the end?
No, he died abroad, in Paris, in fact. I received a telegram from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Oh, severe tune it seems.
Does a man so socially be?
Charity, dear Miss Prism, charity. None of us are perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? Oh, I fear that hardly points to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would no doubt wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of the married in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion. Joyful, or as in the present case, distressing. I have preached it at harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations, on days of humiliation, and festival days. The last time I delivered it was in the cathedral, as a charity sermon on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the Upper Orders. The bishop who was present was struck by some of the analogies I
That reminds me, Dr. Chashibel, you mentioned christenings, I think. I suppose you know how to christen all right. I mean, you are continually christening, are you not?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in this parish. I've often spoken to the poorer classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But is there any particular infant in whom you are interested, Mr. Webb? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried, was he?
Oh, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But it is not for any child, dear doctor. I'm very fond of children. No, the fact is, I would like to be christened myself. This afternoon, if you have nothing better to do.
Surely, Mr. Worthing, you have been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it.
Do you have any great doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. Of course, I don't know if the thing would bother you in any way. I only think I'm a little too old for it now.
Oh, not at all, Mr. Worthing. The sprinkling and the immersion of adults is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion.
Oh, you need have no apprehensions, Mr. Worthing. Sprinkling is all that is necessary, or indeed I think advisable. Our weather is so changeable. At what hour would you wish the ceremony to be begun?
Oh, I thought I might trot round about 5, if that would suit you.
Perfect, perfect. In fact, I have a similar ceremony to perform at the same time. Case of twins, occurred in one of the outlying cottages on your own estate. Poor Jenkins the carter, a most hard-working man.
But I don't see much fun in being christened along with the other babies. It would be charged. Would 5:30?
Admirable, admirable. And now, dear Mr. Worthing, I shall intrude no longer into our house of sorrow. I really beg not to be too bowed down by grief. It seems to us bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
It seems to be a blessing, but extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack! Oh, I am pleased to see you back. But what horrid clothes you have got on. Do go and change them.
Cecily! My child, my child!
What's the matter, Uncle Jack? Do look happy. You look as if you had a toothache. And I've got such a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother. Yes, he arrived about half an hour ago.
What nonsense, I haven't got a brother.
Oh, don't say that. However badly he may have behaved to you in the past, he is still your brother. You couldn't be so heartless as to disown him. I'll tell him to come out, and you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
But these are very joyful tidings.
After we've all been resigned to his loss, his sudden return seems to me peculiarly distressing.
My brother is in the dining room. I don't know what it all means. I think it's perfectly absurd. Good heavens!
Brother John. I have come down from town to tell you that I am very sorry for all the trouble I have given you, and that I intend to lead a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you're not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take his hand. I think his coming down here disgraceful. He knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. There is someone in everyone. Ernest has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury. And surely there must be much good in one who is kind and wins it, and leaves the pleasures of London to sit by a yellow peg.
Oh, he's been talking to you about Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he has told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Bunbury? Well, I won't have him talking to you about Bunbury or about anything else. It's enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
Of course, I admit all the faults were on my side, but I must admit that I find Brother John's coldness to me peculiarly painful. I expected a more enthusiastic welcome, especially considering it is the first time I have come here.
Uncle Jack, if you do not shake hands with Ernest, I will never forgive you.
never forgive me.
Never, never, never!
Very well then. This is the last time I shall ever do it.
Oh, it's pleasant, is it not, to see so perfect a reconciliation? I think we might leave the two brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
Certainly, Miss Prison, my little task of reconciliation is over.
You will have done a beautiful action today, dear child.
We must not be premature in our judgment.
I feel very happy.
Algy, you young scoundrel! You'll have to get out of here as soon as possible. I don't allow any bumbling here.
I put Mr. Ernest's things in the room next to yours, sir. I suppose that's all right.
What?
Mr. Ernest's luggage, sir. I've unpacked it and put it in the room next to your own.
His luggage.
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteau, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large lunch box.
I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week. Not this time.
Mary, order the dog to part at once. Mr. Ernest has been suddenly called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful lie you are, Jack. I haven't been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me back.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never interfered with my pleasures in the smallest degree.
I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
You are certainly not to talk with Miss Cardew that way. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous. Why on earth didn't you go out and change? It's perfectly childish to be in deep mourning for a man who is actually staying with you in your house for a whole week as a guest. I call it grotesque.
You are certainly not staying with me for a week as a guest or anything else. You've got to leave by the 4:05 train.
I certainly won't be leaving you whilst you're in mourning. It would be most unkind. If I were in mourning, you would stay with me, I suppose. I would think it very unfriendly if you didn't.
Well, will you go if I change my clothes?
Yes, if you're not too long. I never saw anyone take so long to dress, and with such little results.
At any rate, at least I'm not always overdressed as you are.
If I am occasionally a little overdressed, I make up for it by being always immensely overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous, your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. However, you've got to catch the 4:05 train, and I hope you have a pleasant journey back to town. This thundering, as you call it, has not been a great success for me.
Well, I think it has been a great success. I'm in love with Cecily, and that is everything. I must see her again before I go and make arrangements for another thundering. Here she is.
Oh, I merely came back to water the roses. I thought to with Uncle Jack.
He's gone to order the dog cart for me.
Oh, is he going to take you for a nice drive?
He's going to send me away.
Then I forgot to ask.
I'm afraid so. It's very painful, parting.
It is always painful parting with people whom one has known for a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends one can endure with equanimity. But even a momentary separation from anyone to whom one has just been introduced is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart's at the door, sir.
It can wait, Merriman, for 5 minutes.
Yes, miss.
I hope, Cecily, I should not offend you if I state quite openly and frankly that you seem to me to be in every way the visible personification of absolute affection.
I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you will allow me, I will copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? I'd really look at it.
Oh, no. You see, it is simply a very young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently meant for publication. When it appears in volume form, I hope you will all recall. But pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down the dictation. I've reached absolute perfection. You can go on. I'm quite ready for more. Oh, don't cough, Ernest. When one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell a cough.
Cecily, Ever since I first looked upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I have dared to love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
I don't think you should say that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
Cecily,
The dog cart's waiting, sir.
tell her to come round next week at the same hour.
Uncle Jack would be very much annoyed if he knew you were staying on till next week at the same hour.
I don't care about Jack. I don't care about anybody in the whole world but you. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
You silly boy, of course. Why, we have been engaged for the last 3 months.
For the last 3 months.
Yes, it will be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since dear Uncle Jack first confessed to us that he had a younger brother who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, have formed the chief topic of conversation between myself and his prison. And of course, the man who's much talked about is always very attractive. One feels there must be something in him after all. I dare say it's foolish of me that I fell in love with you, Alex.
Darling. And when was the engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last, worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I determined to end the matter one way or the other. And after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you onto that dear old tree over there. The next day I bought this ring in your name, and this is the little bangle with the true love's knot that I promised you I'd always wear.
Did I give you this? Oh, it's very pretty.
Yes, you wonderfully good taste, Ernest. It's the excuse I've always given for your leading such a bad life. And this is the box in which I keep all your dear letters.
My letters. But my own sweet Cecily, I have never written you any letters.
You need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I remember only too well I was forced to write your letters for you. I always wrote 3 times a week and sometimes more.
Do let me read them, Cecily.
I couldn't possibly ever make you far too conceited. The 3 you wrote me after I had broken off the engagement are so beautiful. And so badly spelled that even now I can hardly read them without crying.
But was our engagement never broken off?
Of course it was, on the 22nd of March. You can see the entry if you like. Today I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel it is better to do so, the weather still continues charming.
But Wanda, did you break it off? What have I done? I had done nothing at all. Cecily, I'm very much hurt indeed to hear that you broke it off. Particularly when the weather is so charming.
It would hardly have been a really serious engagement if it hadn't been broken off at least once. But I forgave you before the week was out.
What a perfect angel you are.
You dear romantic boy. I hope it goes naturally, does it?
Yes, of course, darling. With a little help from others.
I'm so glad.
You'll never break off our engagement again, Cecily.
I don't think I could break it off now that I've actually met you. Besides, of course, there is the question of your name.
Yes. Of course.
You must not laugh at me, darling. But it had always been a girlish dream of mine to love someone whose name was Ernest. Something in that name that seems to inspire absolute confidence. I pity any poor married woman whose husband is not called Ernest.
But my dear child, did you say you could not love me if I had some other name?
But what name?
Oh, any name you like. Algernon, for instance.
But I don't like the name of Algernon.
It's my own sweet, dear, loving little darling. But I really can't see any reason why you should reject the name of Algernon. It's not at all a bad name. In fact, it's a rather aristocratic name. Half the chaps who get into the bank look called Algernon. But seriously, sister, if I was called Algie, couldn't you love me?
I might respect your words, I might admire your character, but I feel that I should not be able to give you my undivided attention.
Cecily, your rector here is, I suppose, thoroughly experienced in the practice of all of the rites and ceremonials of the church.
Oh yes, Dr. Chasuble is a most learned man. He has never written a single book, so you can imagine how much he knows.
I must see him at once on the most important christening. I mean, on the most important business.
Oh,
I shan't be away more than half an hour.
considering that we have been engaged since February 14th, and that I only met you today for the first time, I think it's rather hard you're leaving me for so long a period as half an hour. Couldn't you make it 20 minutes?
I'll be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy he is. I like his hair so much, I must enter his proposal in my diary.
Miss Fairfax is called to see Mr. Worthing on very important business, Miss Fairfax.
Isn't Mr. Worthing in his library?
Mr. Worthing went over in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Pray, ask the lady to come out here. Mr. Worthing is sure to be back soon, and you can drink tea.
Yes, miss.
Miss Fairfax. I suppose one of the many good elderly women who are associated with Uncle Jack in some of his philanthropic work in London. I don't quite like women who are interested in philanthropic work. I think it is so forward of them.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew. What a very sweet name. Something tells me we are going to be great friends. I like you already more than I can say, and my first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me so much after we've known each other for such a comparatively short time. Pray sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
If you wish.
Then that is all quite settled, is it not?
I hope so.
Perhaps this might be a favourable opportunity for my mentioning who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You have never heard of Papa, I suppose?
I don't think so.
Outside the family circle, Papa, I am glad to say, is entirely unknown. I think that is quite as it should be. The home seems to me to be the proper sphere for the man, and certainly, once a man begins to neglect his domestic duties, he becomes painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that. It makes man so very attractive. Cecily, Mamma, whose views on education are remarkably strict, has brought me on to be extremely short-sighted. So do you mind my looking at you through my glasses?
Not at all, Gwendolyn. I'm very fond of being looked at.
You are here on a short visit, I suppose?
No, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt, or some female relative of advanced years resides here also?
No, I have no mother, nor in fact any relations.
Indeed?
My dear guardian, with the assistance of Miss Prism, has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I'm Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh. It's strange. He never mentioned to me that he had a ward. How secretive of him. I'm not sure that the news inspires me with feelings of unmixed delight, however. I'm very fond of you, Cecily. I have liked you ever since I met you. And I feel bound to state that now that I know that you are Mr. Worthing's ward, I cannot help expressing a wish that you were, well, just a little older than you seem to be, and not quite so very alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly...
Pray do, I think that whenever one has anything unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candor, Cecily, I wish that you were fully 42 and more than usually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He is the very soul of truth and honour. Disloyalty would be as impossible to him as deception. Yet even men of the noblest possible moral character are extremely susceptible to the physical charms of others. Modern, no less than ancient history, supplies us with many most painful examples of what I refer to. If it were not so, indeed, history would be quite unreadable.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolyn. Did you say Ernest?
Yes.
But it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother, his elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned to me that he had a brother.
I am sorry to say they have not been on good terms for a long time.
Oh, that explains it. And now that I think of it, I've never heard any man mention his brother. The subject seems distasteful to most men. Cecily, you have lifted a load from my mind, and is growing almost anxious. Of course, you are quite sure that it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian?
Quite sure. In fact, I'm going to be his.
I beg your pardon?
Dearest Gwendolyn, there is no reason to make a secret about it. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
My darling Cecily, I feel there must be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is a The announcement will appear in the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
I'm afraid you must be under some misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
It is certainly very curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you would care to verify the incident, please. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read in the train. I am so sorry, Miss Esmond, if it's any disappointment to you. But it seems I have the correct name.
It would distress me more than I can tell you, dear Gwendolyn, if it caused you any mental or physical anguish. But I feel bound to point out that since Ernest proposed to you, he has clearly changed his mind.
If the poor fellow has been entrapped into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty to rescue him at once, and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may be watching into, I will never reproach you with it after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. On an occasion of this kind, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you? This is no time for any shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
I am glad to say that I have never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spheres have been widened.
Should I lay to here as usual, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Mrs. Cardew?
Oh yes, a great many. From the top of one of the hills quite close, one can see 5 counties.
5 counties. I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
That is why we live in town.
Quite a well-kept garden, this is, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there were any flowers in the country.
Flowers are as common here, Miss Fairfax, as people are.
Personally, I cannot understand how anybody manages to exist in the country. If anybody who is anybody does. The country always bores me to death.
This is what the newspapers call agricultural oppression, is it not? I believe that aristocracy is suffering very much from it just at present. It is almost an epidemic amongst them, I have been told. May I offer you some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Thank you. Detestable girl, but I require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable any longer.
Cake or bread?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is rarely seen in the best houses nowadays.
Hand that to Miss Fairfax.
You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar. And though I asked most distinctly for bread and butter, you have given me cake. I am known for the gentleness of my disposition and the extraordinary sweetness of my nature. But I warn you, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
To save my poor, innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of any other girl, there are no lengths to which I would not go.
From the moment I saw you, I mistrusted you. I felt you were false and deceitful. I have never deceived in such matters. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
It seems to me, Miss Fairfax, that I am trespassing on your valuable time. No doubt you have many other calls of a similar character to make in the neighbourhood.
Gwendolyn!
Ernest, my own Ernest, a moment. May I ask if you were engaged to be married to this young lady?
To dear little Cecily. Why, of course not. What could have put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you, you may.
I knew there must be some misunderstanding, Miss Fairfax. The gentleman whose arm is at present round your waist is my dear guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon.
Mrs. Uncle Jack!
Jack!
Here is
My own love.
a moment, Ernest. May I ask you, you engaged to be married to that young lady?
To what young lady? Good heavens, Gwendolyn.
Yes, to good heavens, Gwendolyn. I mean, to Gwendolyn.
Of course not. What could have put such an idea in your pretty little head?
Thank you, May.
I felt there must be some slight error. The gentleman who is currently embracing you, Miss Cardew, is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief. Are you called Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Is your name really John?
I could deny it if I liked. I could deny anything if I liked. But my name certainly is John. It's been John for years.
The gross deception has been practiced on both of us.
My poor wounded Cecily.
My sweet, wronged Gwendolyn.
You will call me sister, will you not?
Just one question I would like to be allowed to ask my husband.
An admirable idea. There is just one question I would like to be permitted to put to you, Mr. Worthing. Where is your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Ernest. It is of some importance to us to know where your brother Ernest is at present.
Gwendolyn, Cecily, it is very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth. It is the first time in my life I have ever been reduced to such a painful position. And I am really quite inexperienced in doing anything of the kind. However, I will tell you quite frankly that I have no brother Ernest. I have no brother at all. I have never had a brother in my life, and I have not the slightest intention of ever having one in the future.
No brother at all.
None.
Have you never a brother of any kind?
Never. Not even of any kind.
It would appear, Cecily, that neither of us is engaged to be married to anyone.
It is not a very pleasant position for a young girl suddenly to find herself in, is it?
Let us go into the house. They will hardly venture to follow us in there.
No, men are so cowardly about men.
This ghastly state of affairs is what you call blundering, I suppose.
Yes. And a perfectly wonderful Bunbury it is too. The most wonderful Bunbury I ever had in my life.
Well, you've no right whatsoever to Bunbury here.
That's absurd. One has a right to Bunbury wherever one chooses. Every serious Bunburyist knows that.
Serious Bunburys. Good heavens.
Well, one must be serious about something if one is to have any amusement in life. I happen to be serious about Bunbury. What on earth you are serious about, I haven't the faintest idea. About everything, I should fancy. You have such an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small satisfaction I can take from the whole of this wretched business is that your friend Bunbury is quite exploded. You won't be able to run down to the country quite as often as you used to do, dear Algie, and a very good thing it is too.
Your brother is a little off colour. You won't be able to disappear to London quite so frequently as your wicked custom was, and not a bad thing either.
As for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I must say I think you're taking in a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that quite inexcusable, not to mention the fact that she's my ward.
I can see no possible defence at all for your deceiving a brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young lady like Miss Fairfax, to say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
I wanted to be engaged to Gwendolyn, that is all. I love her.
I simply wanted to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
There is certainly no chance of your marrying Miss Cardew.
I don't think there is much likelihood, Jack, of you and Miss Fairfax being united.
Well, that's no business of yours.
Well, if it was my business, I wouldn't talk about it. It's very vulgar to talk about one's business. Only stockbrokers do that, and then merely at dinner parties.
How you can sit there calmly eating muffins when we're in this horrible trouble, I can't quite make out. You seem to me to be perfectly heartless.
Well, I can't eat muffins in an agitated manner. The butter would probably get on my nerves. One should always eat muffins quite calmly. It is the only way to eat them.
I say it's heartless of you eating muffins at all, under the circumstances.
When I'm in trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. Indeed, when I'm in really great trouble, as anyone who knows me intimately will tell you, I refuse everything except food and drink. Would you? At the present moment, I'm eating muffins because I'm unhappy. Besides, I'm particularly fond of muffins.
Well, there's no reason to eat them all in that greedy way.
Oh, I wish you would have tea cake instead. I don't like tea cake.
Good heavens, I suppose a man ate his own muffins in his own garden.
But you have just said it's heartless to eat muffins.
I said it was heartless of you under the circumstances. That is a very different thing.
That may be, but the muffins are the same.
Algy, I wish to goodness you would go.
You can't possibly ask me to go without having some dinner. I never go without my dinner. It's absurd. And no one ever goes without their dinner except vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I have just made arrangements with your Dr. Chasuble to be christened this evening at 5:45 under the name of Ernest.
My dear fellow, the sooner you get that nonsense out of your head, the better. I made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble myself to be christened this afternoon at 5:30, and I, naturally, shall take the name of Ernest. Gwendolyn would wish it. We can't both be christened Ernest, it's absurd. Besides, I have a perfect right to be christened if I want to be. There's absolutely no evidence at all that I've ever been christened by anybody. I should think it extremely probable that I never was, and so does Dr. Chasuble. It's entirely different in your case. You have been christened already.
Yes, but I've not been christened for years.
Yes, but you have been christened. That is the important thing.
Quite so. So I know my constitution can stand it. If you're not quite sure about your ever having been christened, I must say I think it's rather dangerous you're venturing on it now. It might make you very unwell. You can hardly have forgotten that someone very closely connected with you was very nearly carried off in Paris this week by a severe chill.
Yes, but you said yourself that a severe chill was not hereditary.
No, it used to be, I know, but I dare say it is now. Science is always making such wonderful improvements in things.
That's nonsense.
Jack,
You're always talking nonsense.
Well, and the monkeys again? I wish you wouldn't. There's only a few left. I told you I was going to give on.
But I hate tea cake.
But then why on earth are you allowed to be served up to your guests? What ideas you have of hospitality?
Algy, I have already asked you to go. I don't want you here. Why don't you go?
Well, I haven't finished my tea yet. Oh, and there's still all these muffins left.
The fact that they did not follow us at once into the house, as anyone else would have done, seems to me to show that they have some sense of shame left.
They have been eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They don't seem to notice us at all. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't got.
Then look at this. What to eat from?
They're approaching us very floor.
Let's preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly, it's the only thing to do now.
This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to
We
speak.
certainly not.
Mr. Worthing! What explanation can you offer me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might have an opportunity of going up to town to see me as often as possible?
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Monks, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have an opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Can you doubt Miss Fairfax?
I have the gravest doubts upon the subject, but I intend to crush them. This is not the moment for German skepticism. Cecily, their answers appear to me to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr.
His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
Then you think you really should forgive him?
Yes, I mean, no.
True. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. Which of us should tell him? The task is not a pleasant one.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier.
That is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? But we are going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you are prepared to do this terrible thing.
I am.
To please me, you are ready to face this fearful ordeal?
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of the sexes, when questions of self-sacrifice concerned men are infinitely beyond us.
They have moments of physical courage of which we women know absolutely nothing.
Done!
Wait,
Darling.
Lady Bracknell!
Why is that what justice?
And merely that I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here. Sit down. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental impairment, of physical weakness alone. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I am glad to say, under the impression that she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture by the University Extension Scheme on the influence of a permanent income on thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I have never undeceived him on any point. I would consider it wrong. But of course, you will clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to be married to Gwendolyn Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now as regards Algernon. Algernon,
Yes, Aunt Vanessa.
may I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, resides?
No, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is someone else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did Mr. Bunbury die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
Bunbury? Oh, he was quite exploded.
Was he the victim of a revolutionary outbreak? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Aunt Augusta, I mean, Bunbury was found out. Bunbury's doctors found out that Bunbury could not live. That's what I mean. So, Bunbury died.
He seems to have had great confidence in the opinion of I'm glad, however, that he made up his mind at the last to some definite course of action and acted under proper medical advice. And now that we have finally got rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask, Mr. Welling, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is now holding in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know if there is anything peculiarly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire. But the number of engagements seems to be considerably above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our times. I think some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. Miss Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected with any of the larger railway stations? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea that there were any families or persons whose origin was maternous.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Sporran Fifeshire, NB.
That sounds not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence. Even in tradesmen. But what proof have I of their authenticity?
I have carefully preserved the court guides of the period. They are open to your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I have known strange errors in that publication.
Miss Cardew's family, since it is officers Markby, Markby, and Markby.
Markby, and Markby. A firm of the very highest position in their profession. Indeed, I am told that one of the Miss Markbys is occasionally to be seen at dinner parties. So far, I am satisfied.
How extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I have also in my possession, you will be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and the English variety.
A life crowded with incident, I say. Though perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl. I am not myself in favour of premature experiences. When the time approaches for our departure, we have not a moment to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Welling, I had better ask you if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds, that is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So
A moment. £140,000. And in the funds, a Miss Cardew seems to me a most attractive now that I look at her. Few girls of the present day have any really solid qualities. Qualities that last and improve with time. We live, I regret to say, in an age of services. Come over here, dear. British child. Your dress is sadly simple, and your hair seems almost as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all that. A thoroughly experienced French maid produces a really marvelous result in a very brief space of time. I remember recommending one to young Lady London, and after 3 months, her own husband did not know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn round, sweetheart. No, the side view is what I want. Yes, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The 2 weak points of our age are its want of principle and its want of profile. The chin a little higher here. Style largely depends upon the way in which the chin is worn. They are worn very high just at present.
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
There are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the sweetest, dearest, prettiest girl in the whole world, and I don't care tuppence about social responsibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Dear child, of course you know that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend upon. But I do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed for a moment of allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I had better give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
You may also address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, had better take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I am not in favour of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of finding out each other's character before the marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent until she comes of age. This consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? Algernon is an extremely, I may almost say, ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more common side?
It pains me very much to have to speak frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, about your nephew. But the fact is, I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible. He is an Oxonian.
I fear there can be no possible doubt about the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house by means of the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he drank, I've just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier Jouet Brut 89, a wine I was specially reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he was perfectly well aware from the first that I have no brother, that I've never had a brother, that I don't intend to have a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
After careful consideration, Mr. Wellington, I have decided entirely to overlook my nephew's conduct.
That is very generous of you, Lady Bracken. My decision, however, remains unaltered. I decline to give my consent.
Yes, sweetheart. How old are you?
Well, I am really only 18, but I always reach to 20 when I go to evening parties.
You are perfectly right in making some slight alteration. A woman should never be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admission to 20 evening parties. Well, it will not be very long before you are of age and free from the restraints of tutelage. So I don't think your guardian's consent is, after all, a matter of any importance.
Pray excuse me for interrupting you again, Lady Bracken, but I feel it is only fair to tell you that under the terms of her late grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come legally of age until she is fully 35.
That does not seem to me a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the very highest birth who, of their own free choice, have remained 35 for years. Lady Dumbledon is an exception. To my own knowledge, she's been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. I see no reason why our dear Cecily should not be even still more attractive at the age you mentioned than she is at the present. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Algie, could you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could, Cecily. You know that I could.
Yes, I felt it instinctively. But I couldn't wait all that time. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. It always makes me rather cross. I'm not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in others. And waiting even to be married is quite out of the question.
Then what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait till she is 35, a remark which I am bound to say seems to me to show a somewhat impatient nature. I would beg of you to reconsider your decision.
But my dear Lady Bracken, the matter is entirely in your own hands. The moment you consent to my marriage with Gwendolyn, I will most gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
You must be quite aware that what you propose is out of the question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all that any of us can ever look for.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolyn. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself. Come We have already 5, if not 6 straight. To miss any more might expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christening, sir? Is not that somewhat premature?
Both of these gentlemen have expressed a desire for immediate baptism.
At their age, the idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell would be highly displeased if he learned that that was the way in which you wasted your time and money.
Am I to understand that there are to be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I do not think that as things are at present, it would be of much practical value to either of us, dear Doctor.
I am grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Webb. They savour of the heretical views of the Anabaptists, views that I have completely refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. However, as your present mood seems to be one peculiarly secular, I shall return to the church afterwards. Indeed, I have just been informed by the Puritans that for the last hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me there in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I'm on my way to join her.
Pray allow me to detain you for a moment. The matter may prove to be one of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female of repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies and the very picture of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she holds in your house?
I am a celibate, madam.
Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, has been for the last 3 years Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
In spite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
She approaches. She is nigh.
I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I've been waiting for you there for an hour and 3/4.
Prism! Come here, Prism. Prism, where is that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104 Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator that contained a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, through the elaborate investigations of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered at midnight, standing by itself in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained the manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality. But the baby was not there. Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day you mentioned, the day that is forever branded on my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its perambulator. I had also with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag, in which I had intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction that I had written during my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, for which I can never forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit that handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, this is a matter of no small importance. I must insist on you telling me where you left the handbag that contained that infant.
I left it in the coat room of one of the larger railway stations in London.
What railway station?
Victoria, the Brighton line.
I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwen, wait here for me.
If you are not too long, I will wait here for you all my life.
What do you think this means, Lady Bracknell? I dare not even suspect Dr. Cassidy. And you hardly tell that in families of high position, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are not considered the thing.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Your guardian has a very emotional nature.
This noise is extremely unpleasant. It sounds as if he was having an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They are always vulgar, often defensive.
That seems to have stopped.
I wish you would arrive at some conclusion.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Is this the handbag, Miss Prism? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends upon your answer.
It seems to be mine. Yes, here is the injury you received with the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. And here is the stain on the lining caused by the explosion of a temperance beverage. And here, on the lock, are my initials. I had forgotten that in an extravagant mood I had them placed there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I'm delighted to have it so unexpectedly restored. restored to me. It has been a great inconvenience being without it all these years.
Miss Prism, more is restored to you than that handbag. I was the baby you placed in it.
You?
Yes, Mother!
I am unmarried!
Unmarried? I do not deny that is a serious blow. But after all, who would dare cast a stone against one who has suffered? Cannot repentance wipe out an act of folly? Why should there be one law for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you.
Mr. Worthing, there is some mistake. There is the lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to sound inquisitive. But will you kindly inform me who I am?
I'm afraid that the news I have to give you may not altogether please you. You are a son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently Algernon's elder brother.
Algy's elder brother. Then I have a brother after all. I knew I had a brother. I always said I had a brother. Cecily, how could you have ever doubted that I had a brother? Dr. Tashable, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. Algy, you young scoundrel. You'll have to behave towards me with more respect in the future. You have never behaved towards me like a brother in all your life.
Well, not till today, old boy, I admit it. I did my best, however, though I was out of practice.
My own one. But what own are you? What is your Christian name now that you have become someone else?
Good heavens, I'd quite forgotten that point. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose?
I never change, except in my affections.
What a noble nature you have, Gwendolyn.
Then the question had better be settled at once. Aunt Augusta, a moment. At the time when Miss Prism placed me in the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury that money could buy, including christening, had been lavished on you by your fond and doting parents.
Then I was christened. That is settled. Now what name was I given? Let me know the worst.
Being the eldest son, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was our father's Christian name?
I cannot at the present moment remember what the General's Christian name was, but I have no doubt that he had one. He was eccentric, I admit, but only in later years, and that was the result of the Indian climate and marriage and indigestion.
Algy, can't you tell me what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, we were never even on speaking terms. Well, he died before I was a year old.
His name would appear in the army list of the period, I suppose, Aunt Augusta?
The General was essentially a man of peace, except in his domestic life. But I have no doubt that his name would appear in any military directory.
The army lists of the last 40 years are here. These delightful records should have been my constant study. M. Generals. Milan. Maximum, Magley, what ghastly names they have. Markby, Bigsby, Mobbs, Moncrief, Lieutenant, 1840. Captain, Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel, General, 1869. Christian names, Ernest John. I always told you my name was Ernest. Gwendolyn. Well, it is Ernest after all. I mean it naturally is Ernest.
Yes, I remember now that the General was called Ernest. I knew I had some particular reason for disliking the name.
Ernst! My own Ernst! I always felt you could have no other name.
Gwendolyn, it is a terrible thing for a man to find out suddenly that his whole life he has been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you forgive me?
I can, for I feel sure that you are bound to change.
My own.
The teacher.
Strangely, at last.
Cecily, at last.
Gwendolyn, at last.
My nephew, I feel you are showing signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I've now realized for the first time in my life the vital importance of being earnest.